All right, so make sure that you have your Learning Target 6 notes out in front of you. I can assign and label the independent variable and the dependent variable and relate them to the domain and range. So when we're looking at the independent variable, we're looking at the input of the function, or in other words, the x's. All right. When we're looking at the dependent variable, we're looking at the output or the y's. All right. We're also talking about the domain and range. The domain goes with the independent variable, and the range goes with the dependent variable. All right. So when we're looking at this, we want to make sure that we understand what these represent. So let's look at an example. The amount of sunlight a plant gets determines how long it will grow. So if you're looking at this, the independent variable is what you are putting in. So you are determining the amount of sunlight. And then what you get back is the dependent variable. And in this case, that would be how tall it grows. That is the dependent variable. So if we're looking at this next part, on a graph and table, the independent and dependent variables will always be in the following places. The independent variable is right here along the x-axis. The dependent variable is along the y-axis. For over here, the independent variable is on the left side, the x side, and the dependent is on the right side, or the y side. All right. So let's look at an example here. Ounces of water and plant height. All right, so we're talking about the independent variable, the dependent variable, the domain, and the range. All right, for the independent variable, that is going to be our x side, our left side here, so that is the ounces of water. And then the dependent variable is going to be the plant height. Now remember that your independent variable goes with your domain, and your dependent variable goes with your range. So if we're looking at our x values here, the way we're going to list these is with these brackets, and we're going to list them from least to greatest. So 2, 3, put a little line through them as I use them, all right, and then 8 and 10. And then across those, and then 15, 20, and 27. 15, 20, and 27. And then for our range, those are our y values, or our plant height. So again, with the brackets, or the bracket, and then we're going to list these from least to greatest. So 10, let's see, the next one is 23, and then 31, 10, 23, 31, and the next one is 42, 48, 42, 48, and then 52, 73, 52, 73, close the bracket. So that's how we list the domain and range for a table. So let's go ahead and talk about how we do the domain and range for a for a graph and the independent and dependent variable. The independent dependent variable, again, the independent variable here is x. It's our x values, right? And the dependent variable is our y values, right? Now let's talk about the domain and range. If you look at this function, it starts over here, right? So domain is left to right. Let's write that left to right, right? With the left being the lowest and the right being the highest. So let's list those. If you look over here, -1, -2, -3, the lowest x value we have is -3. right? And I can put a little dot here kind of at the end there. So it starts at -3, and if you go all the way to the right, the farthest to the right is +2. Leave yourself some space kind of between there. And we're going to put x in the middle because it's representing our x. And then the way we write this mathematically with symbols is we put the less than or equal to sign between these. So that's saying that -3 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 2. So everything between -3 and 2 is part of our domain. Everything in here from left to right between these 2 points. Okay? So for our range is dealing with y. I'll put the y in the middle, and then I'm going to look at my highest and lowest. Now my highest y value is going to be all the way up here, and my lowest is all the way down there. So my lowest is at -2. So -2, which is less than or equal to y. And then my highest is at 3, which is less than or equal to 3. Okay? And like it says here, in a continuous graph, use inequalities to list all elements of the domain and range. All right? So that's why we're using these inequalities to list off all of these values, because negative, for the x value is -2, -3 to 2, everything in here, there's an infinite number of x values in there that work for this. Right? So let's go ahead and go down to the next one. Time needed to locate suitable library materials. All right. So our x value here, or our independent variable, is time in minutes. Our y value here, or our dependent variable, is the portion of students able to locate, this is a long one, able to locate suitable material. And then now let's go ahead and look at the domain. If you look at the domain from left to right, our lowest number is 5, and our highest one, it looks like, is going to be 30. Sorry, got a little blurry there. So again, we're going to put the x in the middle, and we'll put less than or equal to between those. And then for the range, we're going to look at the y values. Our lowest one is just above 20 here. If you look at this, it's right above 20 here. So we're going to put, let's say maybe 20, I'm kind of estimating here. So we're going to say 22 is going to be our lowest. And our highest is going to be right at 100. If you look, it looks like it's going right across to 100 there. So our highest is at 100. Put the y in the middle, less than or equal to signs between. All right. So that is our domain and range for these, because remember, the domain goes with the independent, the range goes with the dependent, the domain is for our x's, and the range is for our y's. Okay. Now here's the last one. The last one is this graph right here of y equals x squared. The independent variable again is going to be x. The dependent variable here is y. The domain is a little bit different, right? If you look here, it goes, if you see, this is going to continue all the way to the left, and it's just going to continue over, so it's never, doesn't really have a start because it's got that arrow on the end right there, and it's also got the arrow on the end over here. So that's why when we say for this, a little blurry there, there we go. That's when we say it's, the domain is all real numbers. All real numbers, because it can go to the left forever and it can go to the right forever. Okay. Now the range, if you look at it, the lowest number is 0. So if I were to put the lowest one and then the highest one, it goes up forever, right? Goes up forever. So you could put infinity, and then you could put y in the middle and put the less than or equal to signs in. And you can write it like that. Another way that we usually write this, instead of writing it like this, is since 0 is less than or equal to y, and it just goes forever, a lot of times we say y is just greater than or equal to 0. right? That's oftentimes the way that we write that. So that is independent and dependent variables with domain and range. Learning target 6 notes.